Hello, everyone. Welcome to Joe and Black Ministries. I'm Father Joe Krupp, and you are not. And today is Wednesday, October 29th, year of our Lord, 2025. And for those of you just listening, I was putting my collar on while I was doing that intro. This would have killed a mortal. I took it off, because I was eating tacos. But here's some words that I never thought would come out of my mouth. And I just need you all ready. These were not good tacos. I didn't know there was such a thing as a taco that isn't good. But if anybody ever wants to argue with you about the doctrine of original sin, you point to the bad taco. Because how do you screw it up? Really, how do you screw up a taco? It is tortilla, beef, and cheese. Boom, done. Now, if you want nachos, that's tortilla, beef, and cheese. If you'd like a quesadilla, that's tortillas, beef, and cheese. You can get a burrito, which is tortilla, beef, and cheese. Or if you would like an enchilada, that's tortilla, beef, and cheese.
It is.
This ends my TED Talk. So before I get into it, first let me say a huge thank you to Barbie. Barbie in Colorado made this mug.
Yeah.
Or had it made. I don't know. She might have fashioned it with her potter hands. I don't know. But for those of you not familiar, Barbie is a goddess who I met her and her beloved. I'm going to say a few months ago. It was her 28th birthday. That's what I'm going with. Right? We're just going to say 28th birthday. Her husband was much older. No, do you remember? I don't know. They were like my age, I think.
They looked younger than me.
Well, Colorado.
Yeah, they look healthier than me.
Yeah, they looked healthier than everyone in the church. This is what it's like, I think, to grow up in a state where there's a thing called a sun.
Yes.
Like many months of the year.
Right.
So thank you, Barbie. We love you. We're praying for all the things you asked us to pray for, and we charge reasonable rates. Now, you might be thinking, how do I get a coffee cup like that? Well, if you go to joeandblackministries.com, you can buy all kinds of cool merch. You can't buy this cup. This is my cup. But you can buy very groovy Joe and Black stuff. And all the money that you send will go to my drug habit. Yes, Carrie.
Speaking of our visitors, they met you. They came from Colorado
Yeah.
to meet you while we were out and about in the diocese.
That's right. We were at a tattoo parlor.
Yeah, we were. We were.
I remember this.
That's right.
I remember them very well.
Right. But I did just get a communication from Craig Pohl from the diocese asking us to set that up again this year.
Sweet.
So I haven't had a chance to check it out yet and set up the dates. But
Yeah.
we'll be probably traveling around the diocese
I like
again this
it.
year.
I'm getting more tattoos. I have 3 designs in mind.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, yesterday, I was joking with Carrie. I was very low yesterday. And Carrie got it on her mind. She was going to talk me out of this. Which meant I talked at her and cried like an idiot for an hour. But I started joking about, like, I so want to do this. Like, have someone stage a question. Like, Jacqueline, we could get her to do it. She's a tattoo gal, right? Stage a question. Does Joe have any tattoos on his stomach? At which point, you'll see me start to take off my shirt, and then you'll hear Carrie scream no, and the camera will get knocked over and the show ends. And I just think that would be glorious. I think that would be glorious. I think it'd be glorious.
Or we could film you praying the rosary.
Yeah. Or we could film me praying the rosary like my godson Chewy wanted. That's right. And we're going to do it, by the way. Yes. We decided. The key was, how do we balance praying the rosary in such a way where you can, if you want to see me. But also, if you don't want to, like if you think he's so pretty, it will be very distracting, then we can also do it audio. So a Lucy update. For those of you not familiar, I trapped a feral cat. Her name is Lucy, and her eyes are filled with hate. It is glorious. This is the cat I think I might have longed for, because Bob is so sweet. Lucy hates everyone and everything, and I've never loved a cat more. I still have not got within 3 feet of her. She just will not allow it. And now her new strategy is she hides under the chair and I can't get there. Now this morning, for the first time in 2 days, she meowed at me. Like I come in, I go, Lucy, and you're, ah! It's not a meow. It's some kind of exclamation of, please leave. You're a fat and unattractive human. Please leave. So she's still in her exile, self-imposed exile. Bob comes in every day and tries so hard, and she has smacked him a few times, such that now when he approaches her, he keeps one paw up. Ask Carrie. So he's got 3 little legs on the ground, and he's got his right paw up, and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
Bring it.
Yeah, he's much bigger than her. They're the same age, and they're brother and sister. But again, that cat is filled with hate. Like, she looks at me, and I've been more at peace looking at demons. So that's our update. What we're going to do today is continue our walk through the Templars. So you may remember that last time we talked, we looked at the Knight Templar, and we tried to do something that you don't see a lot of. Namely, everyone wants to go conspiracy theories and weird stuff. The stuff they did without any conspiracy theories is so cool. I don't know why there isn't more about this. I got a couple messages from people that it just blew them away. Seriously. You know, sleeping on straw, eating 2 men, 1 bowl, right? To encourage teamwork, prayer every day, numerous times a day in the middle of the night, strenuous exercises, very little meat, lots of vegetables, and soy. I'm just kidding. In the end, they were renowned for a lot of things, some of which you may be shocked. Why didn't anybody tell me this? I don't know. But their military prowess was really what got them into the mainstream. They were known for their skills at cavalry charges, at discipline, and at siege warfare. Their military contributions were absolutely unspeakably critical to the Crusades in Holy Land and in Europe, especially my thing just went off. My screen went off, especially during there it went on. Second and third, something's wrong with our TV today, sis. And I blame Lucy. Lucy! What we talk second and third Crusades primarily. So what we're going to do, I want to take a look at, I think I picked 5 battles. Okay. Now, and guys, there's a lot of words in here and names where I'm like, no freaking clue. Okay. What? No? Oh, we think the power cord is messed up. Okay. I blame Chuck. Come Holy Spirit. So we picked 5 battles. Now you'll hear, it's not that they won every battle. They more than not, as you'll hear, lost. But it was the way they fought and the way they lost when they lost. And I think it'll blow you away. So, for example, the first one we're going to look at, and I'm guessing on this name, Montgisard. Okay, where is it? It's in modern Israel today. And Montgisard is this hill. And what you need to know to give you a sense of things, let me see, I wrote down where it was. The Crusaders had about 500 knights total. They had, of that 500, 375 were Templar knights. They had about 2,000 infantry. Okay. They're about to mix it up with 26,000 troops led by Salah ad-Din. And if you know Salah ad-Din, he is the greatest general by far the Middle East has ever produced. Remember those the jokes about the shortest books in the world, right? The Engineer's Guide to Fashion, right? But one of them is great military leaders in the Middle East. They have no rep for this. Salah ad-Din was a Kurd. He's not an Arab. And he was a beast. And this battle, where he has 26,000 against about maybe 2,500 total, the Templars win. And it's shocking, right? You have the Kingdom of Jerusalem led by King Baldwin II, who was a leper. And I think it's a good time for me to sing the leprosy song. This is to the tune of Yesterday by somebody. Was that Beatles or Simon and Garfunkel, or it was somebody I don't like? Beatles. Leprosy, all my skin is falling off of me. Oh, I'm not half the man I used to be. Oh, how did I get leprosy? Okay. Do you know why lepers can't play poker?
Why?
They get tired of throwing their hands in. Do you know why they don't play hockey?
Why?
They had to cancel the leper hockey game because there was a face-off in the corner. Okay, you guys, I am so... I'm just going to take a drink. Now, I'm going to be really clear about something.
We're screaming goat.
If lightning strikes me and kills me in the next 5 minutes, do not make fun of lepers. We'll have all learned a very valuable lesson. I don't even remember what we were talking. Oh, King Baldwin II, who was a leper king. He was about 16 years old, and he was truly a great leader. And you could argue he might... Wait, did I say Baldwin II? I always say that. It's the fourth. Okay, Baldwin IV. He was 16 years old. He was a leper. Did I ever sing the leprosy song for you guys?
As a matter of fact, yes, you have.
Okay, just checking. Basically what happened is he was probably the last great leader the Christian forces had as king in Jerusalem, and arguably one of the best they ever had. But here was the key. He was very sick. He was dying. And when Salah ad-Din figured out he was in a weakened position, he charged in with his men. And these aren't just like 26,000 guys who they pulled off farms. These are warriors. There were Mamluks in there. There were all kinds of people. So what happened? King Baldwin found out. He got word from his scouts, and he force-marched this small army to intercept them. And he waited till they were spread out a bit, trying to loot. And what happened? Holy cow. The Templars took the lead and freaking charged in this wedge formation that they were famous for. And again, just picture the head of an arrow made of humans on horses, all riding in perfect sync, which was just about impossible to pull off. They could. And they smashed the lines and killed an incredible amount. Somewhere between 20,000 and 23,000 of Salah ad-Din's forces were killed. The Crusader army, which again was, 2,500, they lost about 1,100. This was a suicide charge, make no mistake. But the whole idea was, if we hit them now, we accomplish two goods. One, all the civilians who are out working on the farms can run into the castle and be safe from this army, which was raping, pillaging, and raiding. The second thing was, this is what we got. Let's make it count. It was arguably the greatest moment in Crusader history, or not Crusader, in Templar history militarily. What they did was unthinkable and brave and insane. They threw 500 cavalry at 26,000, and they punched them so hard and in just the right place that they were able to get behind the front lines and just slaughter. Salah ad-Din, for the first time, lost this air of unbeatable invincibility, right? This idea that he was invincible, all of a sudden it's gone. He's not just invincible. Sorry. You ever hear that one where the guy's like, hey man, we're invincible, and the other guy's like, dude, we're good, but people can see us. So suddenly Salah ad-Din for the first time looks like he can actually lose. And why did he look like it? Because he lost. And he lost in an embarrassing and sure fashion, such that 10 years before the Muslims try again. 10 years. How crazy is that? If you want to look it up, in more detail, the Battle of Montgisard, Montgisard. This was in the year 1177, and King Baldwin IV did die shortly after. He was at that battle. There's literally an account, get this, so he's laying on his litter, right? And that 4 men were carrying the litter on their horses charging. He was like, no, I die here. Right? Can you imagine? No. Dude was a beast. So that was big. This was a decisive Crusader victory only made possible by the Templars. And the Kingdom of Jerusalem lasted another decade. The Templars also, their reputation is just insanely fearless, borderline suicidal, was cemented. Their problem at this point in that battle, the reason they didn't kill everyone, they didn't have enough dudes. There just wasn't that many of them. Like I said, about 350. And that was almost every living Templar. Well, it was certainly, how's this? Every living Templar in what we would call the Middle East. Okay. The next battle they're known for, how we doing?
Good.
Okay, so if you can take 350, if you can take 500 mounted knights, and again, why do I say 350? Because the 150 that were not Templars did not participate in the wedge. The Templars wouldn't let them. You're not good enough. You're not disciplined enough. You get behind us. When we smash through, you get in there and make a wreck. Okay, much like the Spartans did at Thermopylae with the Thebians, right? It's like, nah, you guys go over there. And once we get things moving, you can jump in and make a mess. Okay. The next one they're known for, this is one we're going to see was not just a defeat, but the defeat. But what makes it, well, here we go. Okay. Salah ad-Din did come back in 1187. So almost exactly 10 years later. It was like 3 months short of 10 years. And he had to win, Salah ad-Din, because the butt whipping he got meant that it was harder for him to recruit, and it was harder for him to gain the support of all the other Muslim leaders, okay? He threw the freaking world at Jerusalem. The trouble that they're going to run into, the Crusaders, is pretty simple. Their leadership was bad, okay? Even the not Crusader, I'm going to keep doing that. The Templar leader, okay, was probably too aggressive, Sir Gerard. Guy, and I can never say his last name, it's French, see, it's and that translates to flower in a meadow. No, this cat's name was Guy. Master Gerard was the head of the Templars, and here's what happened. It's pretty simple. Salah ad-Din shows up, and he's on his way with an army that, frankly, they knew we can't go toe-to-toe with. You're talking about a force of less than 20,000 on the part of the Crusaders. And what are they fighting? Some estimates say about 100,000. So what's the smart thing to do? Stay behind the walls, right? One man in a fort is worth 50 guys charging the fort. That's a fact. I don't know. I mean, I'm making up the number 50. Sure. You stay behind the walls. You make them earn it. And you can kill a ton while they keep trying to take the walls. And warfare back then pretty much involved that. You send all the guys who aren't trained warriors and let them die against the walls, right? Let the defenders run out of arrows and run out of gas, and then you just kind of wait and let everybody get hungry and thirsty, okay? How are we doing so far?
Good.
So what happened? The leader of the Crusaders, again, this Guy, I think it's de Lucien, right? Decided, no, we're going to go attack them. It's the last thing they'll expect. And in one regard, they were right. It was the last thing they would expect. Why? Because it's stupid, right? Tactically, this was a profoundly bad decision. You stay behind the walls where there's water. No. He ordered, no, we're going to march across the desert and go take on an army 5 times our size. Some of this, they had the true cross. They believed that they would get a miraculous victory just like they did 10 years ago. The Templar general, Master Gerard, agreed to this plan. They had about 130 Templars that were mounted. Okay? What happened? Salah ad-Din just waited. Oh, yeah, come on. Well, yeah, come this way. This is at Hattin. Did I tell them that? Hattin? Okay. And it was a slaughter. By the time the knights got to the Muslim forces, many had died of dehydration or exhaustion. Why are we talking about it then? Because Salah ad-Din himself talked about the Templars just refused to quit. They stood their ground, they formed a circle, and they fought to the last man. When their shields and swords were broke, they bit, they kicked, they punched. They just refused. Now, the whole time, right, the Muslims are telling them, just surrender, right? All you got to do is convert to Islam or pay a ransom. No, you have to kill us. They fought to the last man. And again, Salah ad-Din wrote about this. He was astounded at their courage and their, what is the word? They were exhausted and they kept going. Their will, their formidable will. He truly believed any other humans on the planet would have surrendered or even not got to that point. But those 130 Templars fought like lions. Also, the Muslims did capture the true cross, the cross that Jesus was crucified on. And this paved the way, right? By the time Salah ad-Din finished this, you had less than 100 defenders of Jerusalem. So Salah ad-Din just marched on Jerusalem. And it was a hellacious battle there. Jerusalem refused to surrender because the Muslims' habit, frankly, of just killing everyone. In the end, I'm trying to remember this cat's name because this isn't Templar, but the guy who was running Jerusalem at the time, it's really fascinating. He fought that army to a standstill. It's really a wild story, and it's quite heroic in the history of the Crusades. But what Salah ad-Din did was finally called for a truce, right? Or what do you call the white? Not we surrender, but let's talk and have coffee. What do you call the confab? Parlay. Called for a parlay, meaning he bet that 3 different. No, I'm kidding. And at the parlay, the second one, the first one didn't go well. He basically said, "All right, here's my promise. We won't kill one Christian who surrenders, and we'll let you go home." And the guy in charge was like, deal. Okay. So that dude was pretty crazy. I remember reading about him. I can't believe I forgot his name. He kind of lived a wild life after that. Like you could see he was slightly nuts. But so what we've got is the first one we talked about as the Battle of Montgisard, where the Crusaders just absolutely melted everyone's face. The second battle we looked at was the Battle of Hattin, where led in awful tactics, a tiny number of Templars fought to the death, refusing to convert to Islam or to be a means by which the Muslim armies got money by ransoming them. Right? Does this make sense so far, sis?
Yes.
Okay. That was arguably the biggest, side note, tactical error in the first 5 Crusades. And no one is clear on why Guy did it. No one is clear on why. Like, did he really believe that, well, we have the true cross, we can't lose? Well, we not only lost, we lost the true cross. The Muslims had it. What do you do? Now, and when you hear that all 130 of those Templar knights fought to the death, that's about half of them. Remember our first show, how hard it was to be a Templar. They were the equivalent of Army Rangers of the day, or Navy SEALs, or Marines, right? The elite of the elite of the elite, and Force Recon Marines. It was impossible to live by those rules unless you were a legit hard dude. Okay? And as you heard in the first show, they took it serious. Never let TV convince you differently. If they wouldn't have taken it seriously, they would have had many, many more people. But they took their vows serious. They took their life serious. They took everything serious. These were warrior monks. Okay. So the next time I'm going to keep saying Crusaders all day. The Templars distinguished themselves. Was at the Battle of Arsu. Oh, went off again, you guys. Sorry. The Battle of Arsu. Come on. Sorry, guys. We're having trouble with my screen right now. I'm hoping I get it back. The Battle of Arsu happened. Gosh darn. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. While we're doing it, how about this? I just want to remind you to make sure you're supporting local businesses, okay? So for us here at Joe and Black Ministries, we really are big believers in, sorry, sissy, I see what's going on. I'm going to try again. Come, Holy Spirit. We're big believers in buying local. We believe it supports the local economies, and so many of these businesses then support the local communities. For us, we like to go to Michigan Church Supply in Mount Morris, Michigan, or Celtic Cove Catholic Bookstore in lovely Oxford, Michigan. Not only that, but if you're in the market for a new or used car, you got to remember you simply can't do better than Al Sarah. Here in Grand Blanc, we're blessed to have Al Sarah Chevrolet, and they've got other businesses, but why would you go anywhere but Chevrolet? So come on down here to Grand Blanc, head over to Al Sarah Chevrolet, ask for Kyle. He'll get you a ridiculous deal. And let's take a moment and welcome our foreign correspondents. Patricia in Veronica in Scotland, Brem Van in Canada, Sabine in Germany, Richard in England, Margaret in New Zealand, Anne in New Zealand, Chris in the Philippines, Finula and Kaylin in Ireland, John in Spain, Jose in Mexico, Karen in Singapore, Eileen in Australia, Ben in India, Bella in South Africa, Francisco in Argentina, Sarah in Lithuania / Massachusetts, oddly enough, and Kevin in Wisconsin. And howdy hi to all of my thugs, and to Vermont Mike, my favorite agnostic. Okay, so guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to put some glasses on, and this will help me to read my computer screen instead of the big TV screen. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at was in the Third Crusade. So the Second Crusade, the Battle of Hattin, we lost Jerusalem, and we lost a bunch of places. When you get to 1189, okay, so what is this? This is just 2 years after we lost Jerusalem. In the Third Crusade, after Jerusalem, the whole idea was, let's take some key cities back. We can't get Jerusalem back. But the Templars were based in Tyre, and they were led by Grand Master Gerard de Richefort, who was a beast. He joined Richard Lionheart and other crusaders, and their goal was, we're going to besiege Acre. Okay, Acre was a key city. Now, the Templars provided elite knights, elite sergeants, and incredible logistical support. Perhaps even more important, they contributed their expertise in siege warfare. They built siege engines. They manned defensive positions against Salah ad-Din's relief forces. They participated in assaults. When Sir Gerard died, a guy named Robert de Sebel took over and continued working with Richard. How did it go? Extremely effective. What everybody talked about for years after was the Templars were disciplined. Just read at a time when by the time you get to the Third Crusade, a lot of the flower of Europe was dead, right? From the first two crusades. And excuse my candor, but in each crusade, you see the talent pool from Europe getting less and less. And it's simply a function of bodies. Europe was losing all their best people fighting to retake the Holy Land. Okay? The Templars, their discipline was noted, their fortification tactics, and here's another key. At this point, the Crusaders were starting to get very wealthy. And they used their financial resources by funding supplies and hiring mercenaries. They were key in the surrender of Acre. They captured it in 1191 and made it the new Templar headquarters in the Holy Land. Okay, this is a great quote. Quote, "The resilience of the Templars and their organizational skills were critical to the success of this battle and all through the broader crusade, which failed to take Jerusalem." If you read different military historians, they'll tell you Had the Templars been in Jerusalem, they would have taken Jerusalem. They were the difference. And what was their difference? They were disciplined, trained, and in unity. You'll see all kinds of people writing that they didn't even often have to talk to each other. They had all been together so long, everybody knew what that guy was going to do, and they followed the lead. How we doing, sis?
We are doing well.
Do people have questions, or are we doing well?
We do have a couple of questions.
Okay, let's see what we got. Or no? Okay.
One second. Okay, so first question is,
How's it going?
yes, how's it
Good,
going?
thank
No,
you.
About the Templars,
Okay.
why are they depicted as such villains in film? And she cites Ivanhoe in Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah. And isn't that the fascinating thing? Like, Kingdom of Heaven, to me, is a great movie. The history is awful, right? They got some things right and some things wrong. So whenever Templars did something good, they had someone else do it, right? I don't know what it is. I confess the cynical part of me says it's simple. Well, these are Christians. So you need to make Christians look bad. You just don't see anything in movies where the Christians are the good guys. And it's just fascinating. Part of it to me feels like almost like this childish petulance. You know what I mean? Well, America's got a lot of Christians, so let's crap on them. I think it helps them feel sophisticated. I do. It really is shocking. Oh, here's one. Here's a fine movie where the Templars looked very good. Come, Holy Spirit. Dad, we just watched it again the other night. And it was at the end of the Templar run that this happened. Oh, boy, I'm so mad at myself for not remembering the name of the movie. It stars one of my favorite actors, James Purfoy. Hey, can you Google?
Yes.
James Purfoy, Purej or Foy, Templar movie. It's one word, and it is a true story, and the Templars look amazing in it.
Ironclad.
Ironclad. Now, if you're adverse to bloody violence, do not watch this movie. The bloody violence isn't the point. The point is undefeatable men in an absolutely preposterous situation they can't win. And they held. And it was really the last great stand of the Templars. James Purfoy is one of my favorite actors. He plays the part marvelously. Now, again, I want to be clear. If, like, swords buried in people's brains bothers you, I'm not going to recommend this. But it is a fine movie. Because in this case, it's a true story, although they screw up the end a little bit. The Templars were fighting Christians. Right? Here's a classic case. You remember the Magna Carta, right? Focus. I'm going to go backward a little bit. Let's get back to Richard Lionheart.
Yes.
Richard Lionheart dies in Crusade, yeah? Or technically on the way back. But while he's gone, King John runs the kingdom, and he was a horrible human being. The worst. To quote the Gospel of John, he was the worst. For the first time in, I believe, European history, the nobles rose up and were like, yeah, we're not playing ball anymore. And then short version of it is they presented this letter to King John and forced him to sign it. And the letter was simple. There's these things called human rights, and we have those now. Right? You can't just take our stuff. It was actually pretty revolutionary stuff. So John signed it. Everybody went home, and then John gathered an army and went and killed everybody who made him sign it. The Crusaders sided with the people. They did not side with royalty. And this was part of the beginning of the fall of the, did I say Crusaders again? The Templars sided with the people. And basically what you have, in a nutshell, what Ironclad is the story of, is all the guys who are getting hunted by King John are like, oh no, right? They thought it was done. And so while they're preparing a tactical position and trying to get the French to come help, there was one fort that was key. And about 5 Templars and 100 other men held that fort against the most brutal siege you can imagine. And they fought to the last man. I won't tell you the end. Did they hold the fort? Did they lose the fort? Did they blah, blah? Because if you're interested in the movie, I don't want to ruin it. The end of the movie fixes things a little for you. Yeah. And if you want, I don't know. If you want, I'll tell you. But not today. I want to give people a chance to watch it. So why am I talking about this, sis? Oh, they always show them as the bad guys. Everybody loved them except the important people. Because the Templars tended to side with the weak and those in need. That was their rule. And those guys did it. They did it. You wouldn't have found 350 knights in Europe who would go, yeah, we'll charge 26,000 dudes if it'll help those poor people get into the castle. They wouldn't do it. And these were good knights, but no, Templars were in. That's why I called this show All In. If you were a Templar, you were all in. I love these cats, and I hate how history kills them and slanders them. Right. They were amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was from Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Grace comments, it seems that the Crusaders that you like to talk about today were sent out from the church to do the opposite of what Jesus taught us to do.
It is interesting philosophically. Here's the key. In an ideal world, we could all be pacifists. And I mean that. And we should be. But in a world, and this frankly continues today, right? Where Muslims are killing Christians like it's a full-time job. Somebody has to stand and protect the weak. Someone has to stand and say enough. So Jerusalem was run by Christians, and Muslims killed everyone and took it over. We took it back. Why? So Christians could go there and pray. There were, that I can find, no restrictions on Muslims coming to Jerusalem and pray while Christians ran it. When Muslims ran it, until Salah ad-Din, there were all restrictions. They're two different religions, one of which it's in their scriptures to kill when you need to. The other of which allows killing if you have to. And we're the ones who allow killing if you have to. I was just talking with someone about this, and they were being half funny, half sincere. Why doesn't the Pope call a crusade in Nigeria? Like, what would happen if today the Pope said they're being slaughtered at a rate of, I think it's 89 a day now, right? Why not say, Christians, show up over there? There's two challenges to that. One, there's no Christian country anymore. You could always count on France. Always, right? France was, I forget the title the church gave her, but like literally something like favored daughter. If there were Christians in trouble, the church contacted France, and every night in the world went, where do you need us? Let's go. There's just no equivalent to that today. Second, we're just a lot less violent, frankly. Every guy growing up knew he was going to be a battle at some point in his life. He's a farmer. He don't know how to fight. But at some point, the guy who you farm for is going to come and say, if you want your family to keep living in that house I built, you need to go fight this battle. That was just life. And was the only way to keep Christians safe. For the Templars, the idea was you use your strength to benefit others. And there you go.
Yes.
Was that it for the questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Joe points out that they were the Green Berets of their time.
Very much.
We would call them heavy lefts today.
Okay.
Special Forces, Rangers, Airborne, that kind of.
Yeah.
And then Sally comments that she's never heard any of this in 17 years of Catholic schooling. Why?
Yeah, I think, again, some of it is how much can they teach, right? Like, and this is terrible to say. Some of it, of course, is we were kids, right? Like, I taught Catholic high school for 10 years, and every once in a while, apparently, well, no one taught my kid this. I'm like, I did. You know what I mean? And not to be funny, kids are kids. And another one, this is terrible. I should never have done this, but I was young and knew everything. A parent would come to me, my kid's been at Lansing Catholic for 3 years and doesn't even know the 10 Commandments. And you know what I always said? You tell me. What are the 10 Commandments? Don't murder. I'm like, well, if you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I got older and I'm like, that was kind of a jerk move. It feels like a jerk move.
It was direct.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I used to be very good at direct. At some point, I got soft, and I think in a good way. I hope in a good way. Yeah. But I could be very verbally aggressive, especially if I felt like someone was, there's so many things you can accuse me of, and I'll be like, yep, but anyway. There's just only so much we can be taught. And I think if Western quote-unquote civilization wasn't so busy trying to abuse Christianity, then it wouldn't be a big deal that we didn't know these things, right? But again, like someone commented, in every movie, the Templar are the bad guys. I have no idea why that happened. They were amazing. There's literally nothing to hate about them. Unless you're, a Muslim trying to retake the Holy Land. But even then, make no mistake, Salah ad-Din thought the world of them. They fought with honor. They fought with discipline. They kept the rules. Salah ad-Din was in a weird way respected by the Crusaders. And Richard Lionheart was in a very weird way deeply respected by the Muslim armies. Why? They followed the rules, with one exception each. One time Salah ad-Din lost control of his army and there was raping and pillaging after a surrender. One time Richard Lionheart lost control of his army and there was raping and pillaging after a surrender. Beyond that, nothing tarnishes either of their record. And to give you a sense of things, the German Crusaders built a monument to Salah ad-Din when they got home. He was an honorable opponent. He fought. But the Muslim armies didn't love him because he was a Kurd, right? He wasn't an Arab.
Yes.
It's really fascinating stuff. They liked him because he won. But he was despised. Like, who was it? It'll come to me. There was a historian who wrote, Salah ad-Din would have been more respected in the Crusader army than in the Muslim army in some ways. He wasn't super pious, like he was religious, but he wasn't like super pious, sort of like Richard Lionheart. He was Catholic and he believed and he did all the things he was supposed to, but not much more. You get me? Yeah. Anyway, I talk too much.
No, you don't. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I gotta help you people. So the next time the Templars threw in was another big W. Okay, so now we've taken Acre, right? And the Templars claimed it. This is our headquarters now. And no one argued with them. They wouldn't have won Acre without them. And tactically, Acre was more important than Jerusalem, right? If they would have won Jerusalem again, but not taken Acre, well, then they would have came and take Jerusalem back. How we doing? Does this make sense? Yes. So what do we do now? The Battle of Arsu. This was right after Acre. Richard Lionheart's army marched south from Acre toward Haifa. What did they call Haifa then? Jaffa, maybe. I think it was Jaffa. Okay. And what happened? Salah ad-Din came up with a great idea. Let's just not send a big army after them. Let's just pick at them while they're marching to Haifa. Okay? Let's just pick at them. The Templars saw this, and they formed a rear guard out of Acre and just came charging in. And basically, their discipline under constant cavalry charges and archery attacks kept Richard Lionheart's army safe while they marched. Okay? So, and this is really wild. So there were the I can never say their name, Hospitallers, another warrior monk organization, right? But their union dues were a little cheaper. Did you find that funny at all?
A little bit.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was like, you could be either, but it's only $8 a month if you're... Do they do dental? Yeah, they do dental. And these were Englishmen. They wanted dental.
They have been denied.
That's right. So the Hospitallers, I can't say their names. The hospital dudes, other warrior monks, they stayed with Richard Lionheart's column and kind of protected them in case anybody got through. The Templars just kept eating arrows and cavalry charges to stop the Muslims from hitting the Christian march. And then this is so cool. they set up a plan with Richard where at a signal, they stopped marching south and stopped protecting and attacked. Now, I'm not going to go through it because I'll be honest, I don't understand it. Like, I read the accounts and I get the basics, but, he swept over with the flanking maneuver and blah, blah, and here's the thing. They charged them when they shouldn't have charged them, in a sense. But tactically, it was brilliant. Freaked the Salah ad-Din's forces out. And the fact that the Templars were able to hold formation and just eat arrows while fighting off cavalry charges and then executing a cavalry charge was unreal. And in that, they slaughtered everybody. And the road to Haifa stayed open. So now the Crusaders have Acre and Jaffa, or however I'm supposed to say it. And they held it, which was huge for the war effort. Now, why didn't they then take Jerusalem? We're low on Templars now, and I'm dead serious. Only very few make it through. And then even once you're in, it's hard to stay in. If you break the wrong rule, they will kill you, right? This is all about strict lifestyle and discipline and obedience, okay? So now we're going to go to 1244. Okay, where are we? We're about 20 years after that battle we just described. Okay, and this one did not go well at all. A coalition of Crusaders, including Templars, allied with Damascus. So now we got Muslims and Christians fighting against the Khwarezmian forces near Gaza. And the whole idea was, it's kind of wild. The Muslims and Christians had found a peace that worked for everyone. And there were a group of Muslims led by the Khwarezmian, I can't remember his name, Ayyubid? I think it was Ayyubid or something like this, who was like, no. The Holy Land's ours. And so he starts marching a force. The Crusaders and the Muslims that were there were like, oh no, let's do this together. And they did. They fought together. The Templars basically had their last 200 knights there in the Middle East, and they formed the entire cavalry. They fought alongside the Teutons, the Hospitallers, and frankly, what's described as a very poorly coordinated force of Muslims and Christians. The Templars charged valiantly over and over. They were so hopelessly outnumbered, and they basically tried to do what they did in the first battle. Let's do the insane thing, and if we die, we die. But we'll keep as many people alive as possible. We'll break up the line of attack. But the Khwarezmian cavalry, they didn't ride big war horses. They rode little ponies, somewhat like the Mongols did. And they just couldn't outmaneuver them. The Christians and Muslim forces were not coordinating well, so the Templars had no one behind them. And in the end, all Templars were caught and killed. They fought valiantly, but this was a crushing defeat. The Templars no longer had a serious presence in the Holy Land, which then meant that army turned around and about 3 months later took Jerusalem again. Okay? What did everybody walk away from this? Holy crap. And I'm serious, you can read all you want about it. Holy crap, they were brave. Holy crap, they just kept going till the last guy was dead. The only prisoners they took from the Templars were men who were too injured to keep fighting. And again, they talked about them biting, right? Guys missing legs trying to bite the people. They weren't going to give up. It also exposed a bit of a weakness in the Templar position that the Khwarezmians had small, durable little ponies. Okay? So, how we doing? Let's take a look. So, what were the strengths then of the Templars, right? First, their cavalry. Their cavalry was insane. There was probably nothing like it again in Europe until the Hussars in Poland. Okay? That wedge formation was absolutely unstoppable. If it was done right, nobody could do it right. The Templars could, because it involved precision, it involved unity, it involved discipline. The training of the Templars focused on cohesion and timing, and they were obedient. Okay. The second thing, their discipline. Their discipline and morale. The monastic vows and their spiritual conviction created just an unstoppable soldier. They held formations under intense pressure. They fought to the death. And they did this because they believed they were fighting for God. They were fighting to protect the weak from the aggressor. A third strength is their siege expertise. They were freakish at sieges. They were great at building siege engines, and their engineering and logistics stuff was unmatched. They also were scary rich. You need help and we can't get there, we'll buy you an army. Right? Quite literally, that happened a few times. You'd be surprised at how often you'd have Christians fighting on the side of Muslims and Muslims fighting on the side of Christians. It's not as clear-cut as it's made. It's, I'm hungry and I'm a warrior. You pay me enough, I'll fight for you. You want me to say Allah? I'll say Allah. Right? And again, you take a look at Templars, you take a look at Lionheart, you take a look at, Salah ad-Din. Yeah, bring it. You know, Salah ad-Din, you're a Christian who wants to fight on our side? Great, we'll give you a little area to pray over here. Richard Lionheart, you're a Muslim who wants to fight on our side? We'll build you a freaking mosque. Whatever you need, right? Bodies determined a lot. How many bodies can you throw? How are we doing for time? Add up. Oh my gosh. Okay, what about weaknesses? Let's hit that. They were always small. There was never a huge number of them. They rarely were able to field more than 100 knights in battle. At the most they could throw was 300. That meant when they lost dudes, it was impossible to replace them. This is such a stupid example. But somebody asked me about a younger priest who died recently, and, well, but we're ordaining 6 guys. I'm like, yeah, we've lost 6 priests in the last year. We're barely keeping our head above water, and if all of a sudden we get a flood of guys going into seminary, it takes 10 years to make a priest. At least that's what my wife said. The second one. Third one doesn't talk to me anymore. So their small numbers were always a problem. It was tough to get in. It was almost impossible to stay in. You needed to be perfect. Right? Their dependence on leadership. If your entire leadership structure is obey the dude in charge, that's great. Unless a bad guy's in charge. Or not bad, they never really had bad leaders, but they did have guys who weren't tactically as smart. Well, then why were they in charge? Ready? Seriously. Because they were holy. They were holy and they were disciplined. And that's what Templars loved. You need a good tactician up there. Because if you tell them to charge, they're going to charge. And this happened numerous times with disastrous and amazing results. Overextension. The more the Crusades went on, the more people were begging Crusaders, well, you come over here. No, we need him over here. And they ended up stretching themselves too thin. And not to be funny, in some sense, they felt a duty to say yes when a proper authority called for them. If a bishop said, we need you here. All right. You may know the story about when the Athenians called on the Spartans for help. We need help. They sent one Spartan. That was their, he's better than 20 of you. It was kind of the same, but the Templars were doing it because we're running out of dudes. So they overextended themselves. And then the last weakness, to me at least, was they did struggle to adapt. Once the Charismians brought in these small battle ponies, they could run circles around these gigantic war horses. Okay. I think I got to stop.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. I mean, we're done-ish. Basically what I want to do next, our next show, we're going to look at what were they known for besides their martial skill, right? And martial, right? Martial is, focus. Stick with me. I think this is cool as all get out. I do. Okay, so when the Romans, ancient Romans, would fight, it was pretty simple. There was a war season. It was after you plant and before you harvest. And there were no wars fought outside of those times because everybody was planting and harvesting, right? What the Romans noticed when they looked up at the sky during planting season, as planting season was coming to a close, they noticed this red star in the sky. And they came to equate it with war, right? Oh, it's time for blood. And so they identified that as Mars, the god of war, okay? And so they built, even once the Romans started having a whole army, like a full-time army, instead of grabbing farmers and say, go fight, they would gather on the field of Mars, and they would just scream his name, Mars! And the whole idea was, all the blood we spill, we give to you. So Mars began to be associated with the military, obviously. So we say martial, right? Because of Mars. We say martial law, meaning law during war. We say martial arts, art about fighting. It all goes back to Mars. All right? Interesting stuff. Yes. So beyond their martial skill, what were these cats known for? We're going to look at that in the next one. And if we have enough time, we'll cover their fall. If not, we'll hit it the next time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope this was interesting to you. And I also, it's funny, if you could, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting real close to a point where the algorithm will help us, yes. But we just can't quite get there. For some reason, we even had a couple people comment, how do you only have, 8,000 or 9,000 followers? Yeah. I don't know. If you can help me get the word out, that would really help us a lot, to be honest. We don't make any money. We don't ask for money. I mean, I got a drug problem, and, I got needs. True. I got needs. No, all kidding aside, subscribe to our podcast, our YouTube channel, follow us on X if you're on X, all that stuff. Joe in Black Ministries, okay? And if you would, please leave kind reviews. If you hate it, like I always say, go find Father Mike Schmidt's podcast and leave the awful one there. He could use it. I told him I say that, right? When I saw him 2 weeks ago, I said, I say it. He goes, oh, I know. And here's the thing. He's short, but I think he could take me in a fight.
He's pretty.
That dude is built like a brick poop house. My hope right now would be he's injured. His shoulders. So if we fight now, I got a chance. I just got to go after the injured shoulder.
There you go.
Yeah, for Jesus.
Straight for that.
So on that Deus Volt, I'll lock us up. And when we get together on Friday, we'll do our usual Friday question and answer.
Yes.
All right. Salad pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, today in the honor of the Templars, we ask for the grace to use our strength well. We ask for the grace to be men and women of conviction and willpower and discipline. And we ask these things not for our glory, but for yours. There are Christians all over the Middle East, Africa, China, India, and even Central America that are suffering because they love you, Lord. Come to their rescue. Come to their rescue. Heavenly Father, you know the people we love very much and worry about. And you know all the circumstances in our lives that cause us to fret, and we give all of it to you, Lord, because we love you and we trust you. And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. My Kung Fu is strong. I'll see you beautiful people next time. And until then, frozen peas are my gift to you.
Coach, is it over?
No, it's never over. It'll never be over. It's just starting.